keyboard player Tony Kaye.
What's the creative process like in the band now as compared to what it was in those early days?
In the early days of cinema?
No, in the early days of YES, the first time, your first incarnation.
It's pretty much the same, really. It was always kind of a democratic situation, although I think John was more in the songwriting front in those days. But actually, in those days, we weren't really doing our own material. Not in the really early days. We were doing rehashed versions of other people's songs. Most of our set, 70% of our set, in fact, was these grand arrangements. Rather like the Nice did of classical music, we were doing it to popular music. And of course, Every Little Thing and America, all
What are some of the ones that you didn't record that you used to perform live? I don't think I've ever heard about this.
I was trying to think of it was a vocal group that we used to do, an American vocal group. I can never remember the name of it. We did all kinds of...
the Four Freshmen? No.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. But then, of course, John was writing and had been writing with a friend, actually, who actually became the bass player in my band, David Foster, who was John's original writing partner and wrote a lot of things on the early albums.
This is a different, this is a different David Foster than the producer David Foster.
Yeah, this is a different guy. Yeah. And he became my bass player in Badger. So that's how it started. Now, Trevor is such a prolific songwriter, and everybody writes. Alan's writing music. I write quite a lot of things and wrote more things for Big Generator than the previous album. So everyone's kind of putting in their stuff.
When you perform now, you're probably doing probably more of the things that you. I guess no. Now that you're back with the new material, I'm just listening to. There are some things you perform now that you didn't originally record. I mean, probably Wakeman or Wakeman, I guess, played on.
Heart of the Sunrise, we decided to put in this tour, which is very pleasurable to play. Good, nice piece of music to play. Of course, and you and I, and that's it. I think is it. The rest is from the Yes album.
So do you try to replicate what was on those records, even if you didn't record them, or you just
I mean, you play the notes and you interpret them to whatever way you want it. No one's really tied down to what it was, but of course you do your own interpretation of it. I mean, you don't do a completely wild interpretation. It's basically what is there. And this time I've gotten more through the MIDI situation with keyboards. I got into an organ, a Hammond sound, without using a Hammond, which has replicated very, very, very closely the Hammonds of the past.
Is that electronic? How's it produced electronically?
Yeah, he's using a combination of different modules, Korg, 8,000 modules, Roland D50 modules, and there's a whole workshop backstage, as you've probably seen.
From the Yes album of Venture, the third and final album that Tony Kaye played on in his first go-around with Yes. Of course, now back again with the band on keyboards. More conversation here with Tony Kaye. 94 WYSP.
You're going to do a solo album, or this is Stefan happening, or what's...
A few months ago, I got involved with Lee Abrams and Denny Somack, and who had formed a company, a record company called Cinema.
Coincidence. Yes.
Well, I think they stole it. I mean, I can't be sure of that. We haven't really bothered to get into. But I think that they found it from somewhere, and it was an opportunity for them to musicians very much like myself and Patrick Moraz and various players who they've signed to the label, instrumentalists mainly, not really vocalists, singers, to perform their music, record their music. So I got involved with that situation. I'm trying to find the time to to record it now.
Do you have the material ready, or?
Yeah, I have a lot of material. Unfortunately, as time goes by, I write more and update it and get new stuff. So by the time I record it, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Well, when are you going to have the time to do this? You're on the road for a while here with Yes, right?
Yeah. Well, we are committed to a tour, 3-month tour in January through March, January, February, March. Yeah. And it's unclear whether we go to Europe or Australia or what happens after that. I guess depending on the success of the album. So it's going to depend on a lot of things.
Are you going to do strictly solo, or you'll have? How are you going?
Actually, Alan and I have been writing. We initially wrote one of the tracks on Big Generator, Shoot High, Aim Low. Alan and I kind of wrote that in the beginning. And Alan's a great musician, good piano player, and and also it became apparent that I really didn't want to use drum machines on anything that I wrote. I tried that, and it really didn't work, except in a kind of a writing situation. And Alan's great to play with, so we have plans to maybe record a couple of tunes when we get back from this tour. For maybe a single or whatever comes out.
That's great. Sounds like a lot of fun. So that's really the first time you've done a solo project, really, is it? Or?
Well, yes, primarily my own music, instrumental music. Yeah. Yes, it will be.
Aside from the Badger stuff and so on.
Yeah.
Tony, thanks a lot, and good luck on this tour. I hope yes. They'll be warming up those keyboards. Thank you, Tony. Okay.
Shoot High, Aim Low there from Big Generator, the new Yes album. The song originated by Tony Kaye. And our next guest, longtime Yes drummer Alan White, as we continue on 94 WYSP.
The incredible Alan White. Hi, Alan.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine. It was an amazing show tonight. I was up there playing air drums in the press box on... and you and I almost injured myself. You were, just amazing tonight. Amazing.
Well, you have to be careful. Don't injure yourself, Ed.
Well, did you feel the energy tonight? I mean, the second night in Philadelphia here was just amazing. The difference between the first night and the second night, and the magic really clicked on the second show, I thought.
Well, we're only about 8 or 9 shows into the tour, and obviously you get your flaws and you have to iron them out. And tonight the crowd were magnificent. I loved the crowd, and they brought the band to, they made the band rise to the occasion, I think. And when it does that, the band plays musically fantastic.
You're I always kid you about being the new guy in the band. Now it's only about how many? 13 years now, or something? Is it?
No.
What?
17 years.
No, is it? No, it's not 17 years.
Actually, 16, almost 17 in July. 72.
Well, no, that's not 17. This is only 87, Alan.
Yeah.
15. It's 15 years.
No.
This is
It's 16. It's 17 in July.
Of 88.
Yeah.
Okay, you're counting both years. You're counting all of the year of 72 and all of the year of 88.
Yeah, no, July 72.
The July 88 is 16.
Nah, no.
Yes.
No. I've been in this band
16.
300 years.
Anyway,
No.
No. Yeah, it'll be 16 now.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, edit that.
No, I don't care.
But
people tell me, and they write about it, saying that.
But you're spanning an incredible volume of music, and I was talking to Chris about the two different eras. You're basically spanning the third, fourth, fifth album period of music of Yes, and then kind of skipping to the last 2 albums, really, the new one and 90125, and trying to bridge, I guess, the different audiences perhaps that revere the early music, some that revere the later music, and and maybe some of that music in between we might see you do again sometime. I would hope, you know.
Well, hopefully, yes, at one time. I mean, the thing is I think we're getting a spectrum of an audience that's from a young age until, you know, even their sons and daughters are coming to see the band over a period of, you know, time of music. And you can see that a lot of gigs, like secondary markets especially, you see the first 15 rows or whatever, are mostly young people. And then you get the people who have grown with the music, usually on the side, taking the more comfortable seats and just enjoying it from a side view. So I think with the success of the last album, with a new band and this new album, I think we've been covering a lot of bases, really, and we're getting a lot of different kind of people coming to the concerts.
More with Yes drummer Alan White, recorded at a late-night dinner after Monday night's Yes concert.
Do you see the difference when you go into Heart of the Sunrise? I started to see that the fists raised in the air. I mean, you know what I mean? You don't get fists in the air like for Owner of a Lonely Heart. You get a different reaction. You get a great reaction, but it's a different reaction. You know what I mean? There's a kind of reverence and a kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but the power that moves the body to, you know, to express itself in the audience.
It's a different thing. It's, if one understands. I actually, to tell you the truth, I think this band plays Heart of the Sunrise better than any other band has ever played it before.
Yeah.
And it's because it's got that element of power that the other band didn't have. And I think because the band has got itself into playing Heart of the Sunrise in such a way that we could never pull it off as well as we can with this band, with the old band. And that's why it never actually made it through a whole tour.
But you're the same drummer that's been playing it for these anywhere from 16 to 17 years.
I only played Heart of the Sunrise on 2 tours.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize.
Way early when I joined the band. That's why this number has been dragged from the depths. It's very dynamic, very powerful, very fireful piece of music that this band got their teeth into and now are making, you know, it's something different.
And you and I also was, you know, the same type of thing, the power.
The band has a lot of power.
But you're behind that power, aren't you? You're the man who's driving it, I think.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. You know, it's like the whole band works together. Let's not forget that. It's like a 5-piece band that always works together, I believe. And you know, you can take the new music from the band, and it may be a little commercial, but playing the older stuff also has that element of freshness and power to it.
I was going to ask you, do you play different? I mean, do you play with a different attitude when you play the newer stuff compared to the older stuff? I mean, is there or physically different?
No, I think it's more. I think it's more an element of tuning yourself in to playing the older stuff with a more modern approach. And I think that's where the band really is powerful.
How about physically on you? You have a couple years off. I know you've been recording, but you can't possibly have the rigorous playing schedule that you have when you're on tour. I mean, is it hard to get back into the physical regimen of touring?
No, I've actually, when I was back in England, I put on some weight, but since I've been back in America, I've been working out every day prior to the tour and got myself in shape and lost 20 pounds and like I'm firing on 10 cylinders right now.
How about briefly about the album? I mean, I know that Tony was telling me, you know, as I know, you're a great musician aside from being a drummer. You play piano, and I've seen you sit there and help write songs with the band. I mean, you're obviously a creative force. What was it like? You know, what was the creative process like on this album? I mean, this was the last album sort of was a weird thing where you started as Cinema, or you were going to be another band, then John came back and whatever. This time you were all there together for the process. What was it like this time? Was it different from the old days?
Yeah, slightly different. It was more of a band thing. But, you know, obviously Trevor Rabin comes across with a lot of material and finished stuff because he's got his own studio at home. But I think, say for instance, Shoot High was initiated by myself, and I started that song, and then Tony joined in with me, and then Trevor kind of put some lyrics to it. So that was one track on the album that became a band kind of thing through, the progression that happened at rehearsals. But there's a lot of singular kind of stuff like Holy Lamb and Love Will Find a Way from Trevor, and it's isolated to a certain extent. It's just people added pieces of music here, pieces of music there, and it became. I wouldn't go as far as say more or less a band thing. I would say rather everybody musically had a lot of input. It's just the way it came out. Different people got isolated in different situations.
Yeah. Was there more material than we heard? I mean, you had to choose from.
There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that we never actually put down on tape that was really, really good, I think, and probably remains in the back of people's minds.
Well, it was an amazing show tonight, and it was great to see you guys again, and we'll look forward. I think you'll probably be hitting Philadelphia again when you swing back on the tour. Yeah.
Hopefully. We enjoy playing here.
And if tonight was any indication, I think people will be storming down the doors of the Spectrum to get to see you guys again. And maybe I think maybe you'll be doing some different material by then. Maybe there's some other songs of the new album.
There are some stuff. There is some stuff of the new album and 90125 that we have actually been putting in the show that was omitted tonight. But it will be back in the show probably by then.
Alan, thanks a lot. Always great to see you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
All right. Thanks a lot.
The first single from Big Generator, Love Will Find a Way from Yes. Ed Sciaky here with you as we continue our conversations with members of Yes tonight. Next, that is, founding member, bass player Chris Squire. We spoke to Chris again at that late night dinner rendezvous the band enjoyed after the second show Monday night at the Spectrum.
By way of introduction, we're speaking with Chris Squire of Yes here at a late night dinner and I guess we can give the place a plug, the Rose Tattoo. Since we're on tape, it doesn't matter. No one can come looking for you.
Maybe we'll even get a free meal.
I was talking to Tony, reminiscing about July 9th, 1971, when we actually first met, when I came to the airport to find you guys getting off the plane, when you were opening for Jethro Tull and playing at Wildwood Convention Hall in Wildwood, New Jersey. 16 years ago. It's hard to believe, but
I actually remember that show very well. That, in actual fact, was a bit of a landmark show in our career because it was the first night that we actually used the Clare Brothers PA. And obviously because Clare Brothers being in the locality in Lizards, they, and already a growing sound company, and so we've been on the rest of our tour through the West Coast and Midwest by that time, and so by the time we got to Wildwood, like in those days, bands didn't carry PA, the hall or the club, whatever, hired it in, and so obviously Clare Brothers were hired in to do the PA. And so therefore that was the first night I discovered a Clare Brothers PA. It was fantastic. So
I remember the gig very well. Very small stage, low, and you did America that night. I remember, that's the only song that I remember that you did. I don't know why, but I remember that you performed America.
You remember America because it was memorable?
I guess because you didn't perform it that much.
No, we used to, well, after that, it was kind of a relevant thing. It was a Tony Kaye kind of thing, actually, America.
Well, does that mean it'll be back now that Tony's back in the band? I have to remind him about that.
Well, it's an interesting idea. We've got new music to play, though.
I know.
And, there are tracks from the new album, 3 tracks that we aren't even doing at the moment. Rhythm of Love, Finalize, and I'm Running, which in fact in rehearsal were quite something different. They were part of what it exactly is, especially I'm Running. I think that marks another landmark in Yes's career. It's a song that will develop into, that concert thing when we're probably still playing here in 2 years' time or next summer or something. It'll be.
I love Finalize is probably my favorite song on the album because it reminds me the most of the old style Yes, if there is such a thing. And I was surprised that you didn't do Rhythm of Love because it's going to be the new single. You're going to have to get that together, right? And
Rhythm of Love sounds fine too. We just in a way put the show into a perspective of, because we were totally convinced that we wanted to play all of the new album. In reality, when we were starting off a tour with a new production crew and a new, all these people like that, we realized it was a bit bold to not give the whole crew, including the audience, I guess, as well, maybe not some connection with our last touring thing. I don't think Yes has ever played everything off the new album. I know on 90125 we did, I think.
Well, hey, you did all of Topographic.
The entire Topographic. It's interesting thinking about it, you see, because we have such a mixed audience now, in a way, and there's some people who are drawn to the band through the success of Under a Lonely Heart, and then there are people who follow the band for a long time, and then there are their kids even, who found the records under the stored away in the cupboard and become heavily influenced by it. And so there's it's a real kind of complex thing to draw upon the whole catalogue of Yes music and know exactly what to play.
Especially since you've created the dichotomy of the two eras, the early era, and then you've left out the drama album, and then you've gone to you've also kind of left out Tormato, I guess, and come to think of it, you've left out Relayer, so you've really got the early, third, fourth, fifth albums, and then you go to the last two, which is substantially different band lineup,
Well, I tell you, something that we wanted to put in the show as well, but just from the fact that we had so much, at present we haven't worked it in, is we wanted to actually try this, and this is something that I've always been against in my mind, to actually do edits on something, but we wanted to do an abridged version of Close to the Edge. John and I talked about that, and in actual fact, it's always a little bit of a dilemma with me to know whether, someone who's totally into the piece as it is, if they hear oh, where's that bit gone? Whether it bums them out, or whether, in these times, well, in these times things are a little more tight, concise, stuff like that, because people live in this world now, and with its present speed, so so maybe I'm bending a little on my attitude towards playing it exactly to the letter.
Well, you did an edit on Starship Trooper there, where you're coming in at the end part of it now, and not rather than do the whole song, and that's really not that long an edit anyway. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right, that's relevant. So yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about that tonight as we were playing it.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking
about? Oh yeah, in reality, this is also kind of an edit, but it's the last part, and it's the whole of the last part, and it always was a kind of a pretty separate entity tag. I mean, it could as easily have been the end of Anu and I, or as easily been the end of
Well, now you're giving away trade secrets now.
Well,
you mean all this stuff is interchangeable?
No, not all of it, but that piece particularly could have been. But there you are. I'm glad it's on the end of what it was on the end of.
Bit of live Starship Trooper from Yes, 94 WYSP. We continue our conversation with Yes bassman Chris Squire, 94 WYSP.
She must have felt it. I would imagine this was the highlight of this short tour so far. I mean, this was the first.
It's been the best night, definitely. Although I must tell you, in actual fact, personally, I actually enjoyed last night's energy from the audience just as much as tonight. Yeah, I wouldn't say at all that that was a lesser show. It was a different show. You see, we've been doing this for so long, but in actual fact that, it's kind of like sometimes not getting it perfectly right, but getting at an angle. But I don't know, there was definitely a very positive energy in the audience last night. So, and what can I say?
That's weird, because I really, tonight I thought the energy was that the ovation after Heart of the Sunrise was, I was almost in tears. I mean, it's just a spontaneous 5-minute standing ovation where you guys just had to stop and sit down and laugh because you couldn't play. People were just nuts.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
It had to be fantastic for you to finally get to Philadelphia and feel that kind of energy from this town, which has given you so much as energy over the years. I felt very emotional about it.
Well, I tell you what I think about Philadelphia. I think that probably it is definitely the most discerning taste generally amongst the music buying public for what is most likely to stay successful for a long time. There's no particular reason that I can discern for that. From what I understand, most of this state was settled by Dutch people and German people and stuff like that. From that originally, wasn't it? I thought so. Well, I mean, I think obviously there's a fair mixture of Italian and everything, but for some reason the blend of all these cultures, which is what America is anyway, somehow has crystallized itself in Philadelphia to actually give this very discerning sort of like music listener,
I mean, I was thrilled to be able to present this music.
Yeah. Well, I can only thank you for everything you've done for us through the years, and obviously in the same way, although this is talking about your friendly DJ here, he is a man who is still in his job and definitely represents the same kind of longevity that the band do, and so it's been a very good partnership.
We're still hanging in. Well, we've actually eaten and drunk a bit here, had a good time, and are in no mood to contemplate any further serious conversation. So on that note, we'll thank Chris Squire for being so cordial, and nice to talk to you again, Chris.
Actually, my food's just arrived. I'm just waking up. Okay. I have these strange habits. So, well, good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Good luck to you too, Ed, and we'll see you soon.
The Amazing Grace guitar solo there from, or bass solo, I should say, from Chris Squire. Yes, which he did on the last tour. Is doing a little bit of that again on this current tour as they were in town Sunday and Monday last week. About 9:08, Ed Sciaky with you at 94 WYSP. Our show tonight being sponsored by Siren Records on Route 263 in Furlong, Pennsylvania. As we continue our conversations with Yes, finally, after that late night dinner with Chris and Alan there, we... well, actually, John was there too, and Tony as well. But we sort of hit the sack and let them get a few hours sleep. And the next morning, before they were leaving town, I met up with John Anderson at the hotel. So we had some a little bit more awake early morning conversation with John. As Yes, we're preparing to leave Philadelphia on to the next step on the road, continuing the current Big Tour, so-called the Big Generator Big Tour, as we continue now with John Anderson at 94 WYSP. Ed Sciaky here.